Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township, the special meeting to discuss the American Rescue Plan funding for February 13th, 2023. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out.
No prayer?
No prayer tonight. We don't have a pastor for the special meeting, so. Our ARPA committee has been working diligently for 6 months now, 8 months, on and off, putting together spreadsheets, projects, putting out ideas out to the community. The community submitted ideas. We've talked to all organizations within the community for the most part, see the needs. We talked to many residents, and we've came to the board on a few different occasions. Well, here we are to kind of finalize it. We have a compiled number of projects, and we just need to get the board's direction for the future of the $3.3 million that we have. So a lot of great ideas, and I want to thank the ARPA committee for all their hard work, and Nikki, thank you for chairing, and Bob for overseeing all the finances, and for Chase. We appreciate you guys, all the work. So I'm going to, at this time, look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Steiner. Is your mic on?
It's on.
Hey, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore is absent. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, up next is the discussion of ARPA funding, and at this time, I'm going to pass it to Ms. Nikki Knapp.
So I know everybody got one of these. We revised it. There were some things that I just want to make sure everybody was able to see all the numbers. So hopefully you guys were able to look at the new advised one. There is a key up on the corner. I would like to start first doing a little different, and I would like to be able, Bob, if you could pull all the undecided, we can kind of go through and be able to explain why it's undecided. So we can pull that list so they can be able to see the undecided. Okay, so the very first one is the library.
Here.
Oh,
Test, test. Mine's good.
is that better? Yes. Okay. All right, so the very first thing is the library, the outside music instruments. We were undecided with this. One thing with the library, of all the things that they had given us of information that they requested, this one, they can't use their millage, the money for that. So we just wanted to bring it to the board. We know the community loves the library and supports that. So we just want to be able to bring that one. That was the only one of all the items the library submitted that they could not use their millage money for. So this would be outside by the patio where the instruments would be for during the summertime for the kids to be able to use.
And the board, am I good there? We kind of, or at least I kind of thought that it should be something, maybe should be at a park. I think most people, when they go to the library, they're not going typically to play outside and do different things. So my thoughts personally was it should be at a park, the musical instruments, but that was just my thoughts. So.
Also with that, we would have to find a little bit more information because it was a possible grant. So with ARPA money, we could only use it if it's with a federal grant. We're not able to support that or match it.
Mr. Bruning?
I'll add to that. I don't know how it is now, but I know when I was on the school board, they had a whole bunch of old instruments that weren't being used anymore, and they were storing them at Temperance Road. I mean, Greg owns that now, but
These are installed in the ground.
oh, just like ambient music.
They're like installed in concrete in the ground, and they.
Oh, I thought you were instruments for people to play if they wanted. Okay, my bad. Sorry.
No, that's all right. All right. Any other questions with that? Yeah, go ahead.
Just quick comment. For you or Bob, so your key says estimated no support, but over on the right in J and K, it's all undecided, so
So
that'd be color keyed differently?
that probably could be, but the reason why it has need more information is because it was just a number given to us. There was no backup information besides just a number. And the key for the coloring for estimate is because we didn't have the support. So it was just, to our knowledge, it was just a number thrown out.
Okay, and just one suggestion, Bob, I know before we talked about having a subtotal line at the top.
We'll get
or
to
the
that
bottom.
if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, so it calculates every time he filters that it will redo it, and right now it doesn't.
All right. The very next one is the pump track for the bikes. Again, that is undecided for a couple different reasons. One of them is because their first thought was with Onstead. They've also talked about it having at the field, number 6 at White Park. They've kept just changing the location, so that also is very hard for us as a committee to be able to bring it to the board when we don't have clear direction on where they're wanting to use that. So that's why it's considered undecided.
I'll help you clear that up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they did want it at the field off Samaria Road, okay? That's part of park property, not Onstead Park where the walking trail is. I just want to make sure everybody knows
Yeah,
that. So
that's
that's where they wanted it. Our ARPA committee didn't agree that that should go there. So that's where they went back to the drawing table, and now they want the skate park to be left at Parmley, tear it down, build a new one, and the pump track is the one that's still undecided of a location. They did say with the pump track, they'd be willing to take out one of the diamonds at the corner of Concierge and Douglas. They would take that diamond out and put the pump track there in exchange for lights at a diamond and a home run fence.
That's news to me, because they didn't tell me that. They said they weren't willing to give up one of their diamonds.
At their very
Watched
last
both.
meeting,
I watched both your meetings.
yeah,
It's pretty
it was at
clear.
the meeting, they decided that.
That was at their committee of the whole before you got there.
Okay.
Discussed that.
They asked the 3B president.
Thanks, Lamar. Thanks for
rolling.
ruining our meeting.
Okay, the next one is the security. Undecided for many reasons, but one was with all the parks, things that need to be fixed, and also the numbers when they brought it to us, they kept changing their view on the cameras, the locations, the numbers. So to us, it was undecided, seeing where the board truly wants it. Also, the signage for all the pocket parks, we have it as undecided because it was not brought to us from the board. It was from a resident, and so it has not been brought to the park. We would have to see if that's something the park is wanting.
I think they've talked about that, and I think they're going to take that out of their funds of doing it.
And then the display of all the parks here at the township, again, undecided because it was a resident that brought it to us, and just haven't heard anything from the park if that's something that they are wanting. Also updating Onstead as more of a nature park with more benches and a watch tower. That kind of goes in with, there is a couple other wording of the same exact thing. The next one, windows at the wildlife observatory deck. So again, we just didn't have enough information. We finally did get some information. I think it was a little bit last week. So it was very late brought to the table. So that's why it's undecided, because we didn't have supporting information to see truly what they are wanting to do. A lot of this also, I know with the park, they are in the process of getting their master plan. So this hopefully will give them more of a clear direction, what they want from, if you guys decide to use any of the money for the park, more clear direction for them.
Is that observation deck an elevated deck, or, I mean, you would think being an observation deck that's elevated,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that could be a major insurance concern.
Right. And that's another reason why it's undecided. All right, we're going to keep moving on to replacing the existing exercise equipment at Car Park. That was something that came from our committee. That was never something that was brought to us from the park board itself. So just undecided with that, just to see if that's something that they're wanting to do. With, again, they're working on their master plan. We would like to see some improvements on equipment that's already there that's falling apart. Let's see here. The car park pave parking lots. Also undecided. They made it sound like a couple times that it was going to be just paved, and then they also talked about gravel, so it was also very unclear what they truly were asking, if they wanted everything to be paved, or if it was half and half. So again, undecided because unclear what they were asking. And then lights on the flags and and also in the entrance of the park. Again, that was something that was brought to us from a resident. And was never brought to our attention again from the board, the park board. Everything that was brought to us from a resident, we did share with the park. They never shared any more interest after we shared it with them. And then Parmalee Park, replacing the skate park with concrete. Again, that's undecided because that also has been back and forth on tearing that down there, also relocating it somewhere else. So again, with the park, very unclear their direction on what they're wanting. And again, I think that will help them with when they get their master plan for more of a clear cut direction for them. Again, an observation tower. That one at Wheeler. Yeah, that one is at Wheeler. Again, that was also undecided. White Park, additional parking lot. Undecided for a couple different reasons, but with everything being moved, wanting, the skate park, the pump track, all of the stuff being moved there, not a clear direction on where that parking lot really is going to be. If you're moving stuff there, how are you going to also add more parking lot?
Hey, Al, will you shut the door? Lamar's talking so loud out there.
And then also baby box that was brought to our attention from a resident. That's why it's undecided. But I did talk to the chief, Bob. He would be supporting that if that's something that the board would want. His biggest concern would be, though, people putting things in there that might not need to be in there so the alarms be going off. He didn't know anywhere around here that actually had one. So those were his concerns on that. And then the parking lot at the township, undecided. I think it's undecided because right now we're just doing maintenance, unless the board decides to do something else. But we're just wanting to do maintenance on that, if I'm correct on that, Paul.
So, I mean, our lot could be redone. It's nearing the end of its life. The way I'm looking at it is we're putting together the capital improvement plan. Let's fund it heavily in the next few years and do it through that. I think we could put another crack seal and stripe it and seal it and keep it going for a few more years. It's not in terrible shape, but it's definitely getting a lot of gator cracking. And with the recycling being here now, it's definitely added to it. So yeah, we're just going to do maintenance.
And then a new sign up front, that's also undecided. It was just a last minute also idea that we brought to the table. Before we move on, was there anything that we could that you guys are interested in, that we could further discussion on, or should we just keep moving forward? Okay. Bob, if you don't mind going to the ones that we do support. All right. So some of these, as you can see, the very first one, we've already brought it to the board, and that was the fire department, the washer for the fire department, gear and insulation. Also, the very next one was also another thing that was for the fire department. Gear also, I think that was the second time that the turnout gear, yes, thank you. So the next two ones, we're undecided, but it says support, but we would support either one. Just not sure what the board, what direction the board would really want to go in. So the fire station 3, the parking lot really needs to be resurfaced, but I think the better language is probably tear out and replaced, unless you do the resurfacing and maybe do traffic lights where they can actually back in and stop traffic. So we did talk to the road commission, and they are okay with us doing the traffic signals. We would have to have like a mannequin smith or somebody to draw up plans and be able to put the lights in. It would not only be a light, but it would also be signals to warn. Go ahead.
I'm going to make it easy for the board. So the project is concrete in the back. That's the $125,000. The signals would be the monopoles, kind of like in the DDA. Okay, we couldn't just put string lights across. We'd have to do the monopoles. Those are roughly about $375,000 a piece. So you'd be spending $750,000 for signals potentially. Now, if they just went with the strobes, the signal awareness lights, which they do, I just know that the fire chief isn't fully comfortable with backing it up with the lights on for potential of getting hit in the side, backing the truck into the building, multiple different things. So he would definitely want the lights if we were going to do it. So in my opinion, the concrete is $125,000. They're fine with pulling in the back, turning around and pulling in, or we stop everything and do a study. But I can tell you this, that asphalt back there is deteriorating very fast. It can't go another year.
Can I throw something in?
Yep.
The reason we looked at the signals to begin with was we were told that the concrete was going to be so costly that possibly the lights were going to be cheaper at that time. So that's why we were looking at both options.
Yeah, I think Trudy's option, or the option of the signals, is a great one. It's just figuring out how to get the job done reasonable without, so.
Okay. So we're just going to keep on moving. The next one is water fountains at all the parks. Krista and I actually went out and looked at all the equipment at our parks, and that is why we are strongly for replacing things that are damaged instead of continually adding more work. Handle what we have first, take care of what we got first. And our drinking fountains are falling apart. They're really rusted. They are actually really disgusting, to be honest with you. So that is something that they are wanting, and we definitely support that.
I honestly didn't think that they worked because they were so bad. That's just me.
And there, with that cost, if you see that it is a pretty high cost, they're looking for concrete so it doesn't actually rust anymore. Maybe the life of it will last a little longer. Also, with technology now, they have ones that they're looking for where you can fill up bottles easier too. The ones that you can kind of see it down in Toledo, a lot of them have those. All right, moving on to Car Park. Repairing the tennis courts. And at Car Park, they do not have pickleball, so we would also like to see pickleball also being added to Car Park. I think that is something that is on their list, if I remember, but I don't know if that was ever brought to our attention or if that was from the board. White Park, adding lights to Field 3. That is in conjunction with if we actually did the field, if I remember, hold on here, I got the map. Field 2 into the skate park, where we would take a field and then we'd get the lights for Field 3 with the fence also. I'm not sure why it says support, though, to be honest with you. Sheriff vehicle purchase, we have support. That has actually already been taken care of. Am I correct on all that from the board?
Yeah, it just could be reimbursed.
Right.
That's why it's on low
Right.
priority.
Yeah. So as you will see later on, some of these ones that are support will calculate a reimbursement to the township, what we could reimburse ourselves with. On the IT room update, ventilation support, they are working on that still right now, getting the proper things to be able to get that ventilated properly and to look into that. Correct. On the board room update and visuals, as you can see, all the nice technology that we already have in here. That would be a no, that is not a reimbursement. I thought this should be a reimbursement.
No, because it was approved to use ARPA.
Okay, okay. Oh, it's the computers. Okay. The boardroom update audio. We support, which you guys agreed to go ahead and let us be able to do that. The computers and monitors, the IT, with the IT, that is something that we can reimburse ourselves with. On the security update, which is in process right now, and you guys also, the board itself, went ahead and supported, and we're in the process of getting all that updated. The next one, the PSC public, the consultant, we have not used yet. We haven't seen a need to at this time, but you guys have supported us if we wanted to. The HVAC controls, again, you guys did support that, but at this time we are not doing that. It is at a standstill.
Just on pause.
Yep. We're just trying to see what was best, and I believe Paul actually updated the board last meeting on what was going on with the HVAC controls and what was recommended. You'll see the spot that says reimbursement township spending. We'll get to that at the very end. Election equipment. There's a part of it that we can, if I remember correctly, Trudy, help me out, that we can use to...
Correct. 5,125 can be reimbursed because that came out of the general.
Right, because there's parts that was a grant, so that's why you don't see the whole thing. We definitely need a new, it's old, and Jody has been needing a new one. It's definitely a high priority, a plotter, if I say plotter. And she's needing a new one, and so that is something definitely we need here at the township, and especially if it affects someone's job. The drop slot box that has been completed, and you guys supported that at one of the last meetings. Administrative cost. It says supported. I want to be transparent with that one. What that means is for the times that people have worked on anything with ARPA would not go to us. The money would not come to us or any of the people here. What it would mean is that it would go back into general. I'm going to be also very honest and transparent. If you do that, I think you're going to hear a lot of slap on that from the community, because people are not going to take that the right way. If you do that, you definitely need to make sure we communicate that one very, very clear. And I know I'm not even saying it correctly. So you definitely need to make sure we watch how we word that one.
It's just a reimbursement for the time that we've spent doing ARPA to the township.
But it goes into the general, but not into us.
Right.
I just want to make sure people realize that. And then the dump truck, that is something that I believe it was talked at the last board meeting.
We approved it.
That could actually be something that we could be reimbursed for into our general fund. On the chipper, the mini excavator, leaf vac, also all those things that we could be reimbursed for.
I have a,
Yeah, if we purchased them.
stop you right there, Nicole.
Yeah,
I have, because the park board wanted me to tell you guys, as far as the chipper goes, please ask the ARPA board if they've done the math and realize they could take a truckload of brush to the Mulch King every day for the next 5 years and still not cover the cost of purchasing a new shredder. Not to mention storage, maintenance, depreciation, labor to operate, insurance, and fuel. So park board wanted me to present that they think that's not a good buy.
Well, it's not up to them, so.
Well, it's up to the board, and I'm going to vote no because that's how they want me to.
Keep going, though. We don't need to hear from park board's opinions.
No, it is. They're elected officials, so we do need to hear
but
from
this
them.
board needs
There
to
should really be
right, keep going.
a
Let's
park
keep going.
board, fire, and
We got so
library
much to
on.
go through. We don't have time to get on side.
This is just your list, Paul, so that's
No,
what
it's
happens.
not. Pick out.
All right.
Keep going.
The connectivity, the sidewalks, we have been trying to get the quotes and getting everything in order to bring that to the table. It has been taking some time with Bannock and Smith trying to get all the information together. Paul, do you mind if I let you speak a little bit on that, or do you want me to speak on the sidewalks?
So the sidewalks, we're moving forward on the Jackman Road project. Lots of work's been already done with engineering. You guys need a second? Let's keep it down back there. Thank you. So Jackman Road, it should be a summer project. The board's moving forward on that. That's $218,000. Monroe Road, it was discussed. The board would like to see, or the ARPA board would like to see a lot of the connectivity of the school. So we talked about Monroe Road connecting to the DDA. Make things more walkable. We talked about Douglas Road connecting to Green Hills, right? Mm-hmm. Talked about Summerfield Road sidewalks to Parmalee. So my personal opinion is I think the board, if they're interested in connectivity of sidewalks, I think what we should do is continue on with the projects we've already approved, the Stearns Road connecting Hidden Valley to the DDA, but budget money for it and then do a study of the community as a whole to see what's best for us to connect. You could look at connecting Secor Road where Dean is to the neighborhood right there off Dean. There's so many different areas you could, probably not spend a bunch of money and connect neighborhoods. Right here you're looking at, over $1.5 million for connecting sidewalks. It just depends on how much we want to spend on them and what we want to do.
So this came about, to be honest with you, because it's in our master plan with connectivity. And it was, as we're, Bob, in the very beginning, Bob and I, when we were in the very, very beginning stages, we were listening to what other townships were doing, and this was what Detroit was doing. And so that is something that we brought to the table because we knew that was in our master plan.
I would like to add that it's been in our master plan, and this is something I was pushing for also, are sidewalks, especially the schools where you have kids walking. There's no sidewalks. They're walking in the road. I live off of Summerfield, so I witness every day kids walking on Summerfield Road trying to get to Parmalee. I just think for safety, we need to look at some of these sidewalks at the schools and the parks for these kids.
All right. Doesn't matter if the board doesn't mind. We're going to keep on going. On the very next one, it says purchase land for industrial. Actually, that's off the table now, even though we did support it. The land that we were wanting to look into, it all fell through, so it's not even there for us to be able to purchase.
I wouldn't say it fell through. It just had the people that we're dealing with are extremely slow, and we haven't gotten an answer back on it. So it's kind of at a standstill. So
the next one is Banner Oak School repair and preserve. Looking at what other areas were using this money for, This is something that we did see that other places were using to restore and to upkeep their old buildings that they didn't have money to use to come from anyway. So if this is something that the board is interested, we thought, we have this great building. We need to keep update.
Historical value.
Thank you. And so we just wanted to bring it to the board also to see if you guys would support it.
So some of the things that we're talking about, all the block needs to be retucked, the brick. A lot of the mortar in between the joints is falling out. Inside needs paint. There's a lot of stress cracking in the walls. The windows need to be refurbished and brought back. There's discussion on bathrooms. I just can't see spending that kind of money on bathrooms when they're very rarely used, I think. And the bathrooms there now are just atrocious. I mean, it's bad. They need to be torn down. The whole building needs to be torn down. It's just not in great shape. It's leaking. But yeah, it just needs some general maintenance, and for the windows and the block tucking, and you're probably dealing with lead or asbestos inside. So a decent amount needs to be spent inside, and the entranceway for handicap needs to be updated. So I figured $250,000 was probably a good number to put towards it. But okay, keep going.
All right, moving the maintenance building.
Here, I'll keep going. So the maintenance building, the building we have off Lewis Avenue, we do not own it. The drain commissioner does. We have a commitment that we're supposed to maintain it and keep it up to date, and we haven't been doing that, other than we did do a parking lot when the Lions was there. So my thought was, instead of sticking a bunch of money right now into that building, we give it back to the drain commissioner and build our own behind Township Hall. Build it with the needs. We have the property, we have the green space to build what we need. We could build a pre-engineered metal building with 4-foot block coming up on the sides. We couldn't build a structure like we have here, but if we built something, we could build it for the needs. And have something more efficient, have storage for Trudy's election equipment and all of her files that she needs to keep stored, and I think we could have a great building. Keep them on site instead of sticking money into a building we don't own. Because to be honest with you, our maintenance building shouldn't be in downtown Temperance. So, and I think 500 is a close number, probably. Could be within, depending on what we do. So.
All right, moving on with the cemetery. Trudy, if you don't mind speaking on that, just because that is kind of your area.
It's just all the drives will need to be repaired and sealed. It's been a while since some of them have been done. So it's something that we could be reimbursed for. It'll go out with the bids when we bid everything else out. It'll be bid together in a group. I do have money set aside for it, but we could be reimbursed if it doesn't come out of ARPA right away.
All right, and then moving to the Monroe County Drain Commission, the culverts. Just to kind of remind you guys, way back when we did apply for ARPA money from the county, we did receive $41,469 for part of that. We have not received that yet. We have to wait for all of them to be completed before we can be able to submit that in. We are waiting on one more invoice to come in, and we'll be able to submit that. With the road commission culverts, looking back at the actual board meeting, you guys did support the route Secor to Douglas culvert to be used with ARPA money. But the other one, there was another one, the Chamberlain Drive was not supported. I think it was just not thinking about it missed by saying that in the minutes. So also looking for if that's something you guys are interested in to support, to make sure that we clearly state that that one is also to be included. with using ARPA money to cover that.
So a quick question on everything here that's in, I guess if you want to call it light orange. These are all estimated costs. These are estimated based on quotes we've received, general knowledge from somebody. Where did those numbers actually come from?
Those are just general knowledge.
So they're not truly educated numbers.
That is correct.
Okay.
But as you can see, none of those ever came to the board with that kind of information until now, just like the park. We waited. Bob, if you don't mind, if we can go ahead, we'll start from the whole non-support, just so if the board wants to support something that we are not supporting, so they can see everything. Okay.
Well, why don't you just ask if the board has any questions on?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Does anybody have any questions?
That way we don't spend
Yeah,
30
absolutely.
minutes going through.
All right.
Can you scroll down, Bob, so we can go down this list? Mm-hmm.
I would support grass fertilization in all the parks, because that would cut down on multiple mows that we have to do throughout the summer. A lot of times when these kids are playing, they're playing in a foot-tall weed. So,
Are you guys wanting me to go through this, or are you guys just wanting to look at this for a second on your own, or what are we? How does the board feel? Just go ahead.
personally, I support the Bedford Public Schools 10 radar sign with flashing, but it's one of them things that we haven't had, I don't think, clear direction on exactly what kind of signs we're utilizing, but I think we need to do more of that throughout the community because they have proven results.
We put not supported just because they
Right.
have their own money.
Right.
Okay. Is this the whole list then? Could you bring it to the top so everybody can kind of go through it together? We don't need to? You guys need
anyone has
to
any
look at the
questions.
non-supported unless you guys see any questions that you do want to? I don't want to waste anybody's time. Okay. Well then, Bob, if you don't mind, if you could show the calculation if we did reimburse us for all the ones that we supported, what that calculation would be.
You're talking about the ones we've not just approved. These are just the.
Reimbursement?
This is just reimbursements.
No, I'm saying if all the ones we supported as a whole.
No, I was
Talking
just
that
doing the
number.
reimbursement ones first. So this way, if we wanted to reimburse, this could be something that the township could be able to move into the general fund. So that would be $662,048. Any questions on any of these? Okay. Bob, if you don't mind doing all the ones that we actually support, can you do without the reimbursement? Since we just showed the reimbursement, I don't know how that works, but.
So it would just be the
I think
blanks.
that's a mistake if you want to scroll up because I don't think our supported.
Column G and take all the blank rows?
Yeah, we made some last-minute adjustments to that.
I don't think your microphone's on, Bob.
We made some last-minute adjustments, so that may not be accurate.
Because some of these aren't supported.
Yeah, that one, are you able to correct it right now?
No.
Okay. All right, well, even if it's not correct, some of these are not supposed to be supported. Bob and I were not able to truly be able to meet beforehand this week. I was busy with the budget and everything last week, and so we were not able to meet up with this to be able to chew one last glance together on it. So I do apologize on that.
Did you have anything else you wanted to go over?
Did you have something that you wanted?
I was just going to kind of take over and
Go right ahead.
see what direction the board wants to go with some
absolutely.
things. So with everything we've gone, what are some members, some things that are standing out that you're saying, hey, I'm totally behind, I want to support. Let's just start kind of getting them out there and see where we're at numbers wise. Because we do have a lot of things that could be supported. We just need to kind of narrow it down. Is everybody behind fixing the concrete at Station 3 for $125,000?
That's a definite.
I'm not.
So,
I'm not. I mean, it is what it is. I get it, but like I'm still not convinced. I've lived here my whole life. I know what Toledo does. Toledo backs trucks in off of every street at every fire department throughout all of Toledo. They don't have mast arms. They don't have extra lights for it. They use the fire truck lights, turn them all on, back their truck in. The only reason that parking lot needs to be resurfaced is if you continue to, if you're going to continue to turn that truck around back there, yes, the parking lot is awful. It's terrible. It would have to be refinished if that is the path you're going to continue down. But I'm just not convinced that that's a necessity. I get it. I've talked to Chief. I'm just still not convinced that you need to put in traffic lights or that myself with no experience couldn't pull up and back that truck in one time. But that's my opinion on it. I'm not, like, I get it. Because there's nothing we can't make the fire department do that. I know that they don't feel comfortable doing it, but I don't support it for that reason. Because I get it, you got to do it if that's what they're going to keep doing. But
okay, so Bob, you want to just kind of keep a tally? That's $125K.
Besides the turnaround area, I would be willing to bet if you had an engineer look at that entire parking lot, even the entrances were never meant for the weight of that truck.
No.
So if we're going to keep that truck there, we're going to have a replacement, and if you're going to replace it, you've got to do concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's start with the $125K, get the concrete done, and then we'll start budgeting our CIP for future there. I'm not sure we'll have to, I know Manica Smith was out there and engineered the rear of it, and so $125K, so everybody is okay with the drinking fountains? Mm-hmm. At $50,000?
What line item is that?
There it is.
it seems like a lot for drinking
I was
fountains.
going to say that does.
Well, the ones we have there now, we replace them, they're $2,500. They're metal, but they last 20 years.
They want concrete.
I don't know what that means.
They're just solid
Concrete
structures.
What? Concrete what?
Concrete base.
Concrete structures?
Yes.
Okay.
311.
The plumbing's not.
No, plumbing's the same.
And does this one include does this figure include that extra one that they want at White Park? Because I know that they said that they wanted new ones in each park and an additional one over by the concession stand at one point.
I believe it does.
I believe it does.
Okay. So it would be
Okay,
one
so-
at each park plus additional at White.
Okay, so the $50,000 for the fountains,
We're talking 10 versus 50.
right? But you're talking, they'll probably last 100 years compared to 15.
That's a big number.
It's a big number, right?
What they told me, they said each
You could-
fountain's $6,500.
You could probably refurbish the ones we have, sandblast them. And quite honestly, I've said to do that a few times.
To be honest with you, I don't think so, because there's a lot of actual holes in those. I mean, I don't know with sandblasting, to be honest with you, if you can add metal to it, but you would need to add
Yeah, you can.
to it.
They could be fixed. I mean, it would take a professional, but they could be fixed. But it's up to the board. I know the ones they have there now are in between $2,500, $3,500 a piece, and the ones they want are this much. So
Well, these do have the extra bottle fill and all that good stuff.
yeah, they have a bottle fill on them too. They're fancy.
Doesn't have the drinking bowl at the bottom for their dogs too.
Yes.
Yes.
The ones we have now have that too. Okay, let's pause that for a moment. Just think about it. So what's everybody's thoughts on moving the building to the township hall?
So I guess I'll start with that. That is one that I surprised myself that I feel like I support. And my reason for that is the situation with the current building, where it is, that it is not our building, without, how I see it, without making this move, I don't know how we ever get ourselves out of that building. I just don't, I can't think of another way that if we don't do this and take that opportunity now, I don't like spending this type of money for doing this type of thing. It's not like, it's just kind of like I don't see another way, and I feel like it is something that needs done eventually, and I don't know another way to do it. And like, I definitely like it better than putting money into a building that we don't own. But yeah, I do support this building, like, against what I would expect on its face. But, and as I said, I can't think of another way you ever get out of having our maintenance building down at that old building on Lewis.
I think it makes sense to investigate this and get a really honest to good quote here. And nothing says that we have to take 100% of that out of ARPA, because we do have a decent general fund. We could potentially pull some general fund. We could pull some out of here as well.
Yeah, if we're close.
I think I agree. I mean, we've talked for how many years about that building, and we just continually put the money into that building.
Well, just a facelift, I got us a quote and
yeah.
a sign. What was that 4 years ago? It was $150,000. Just a facelift. That's not doing anything with the roof or anything inside. And
I mean, and when the Lions was over there too, they put a lot of money into that building too up front.
so, okay, so let's stick $500,000 there, Bob.
Got it.
What are the board's thoughts on sidewalks? Do we want to designate a larger number and have Manica Smith do a study of the community, or do we want to pick out connecting the schools?
My view on sidewalks is very specific. I don't have an opinion without details. As a broad, how do you feel about sidewalks, is like nothing to me. Like, I would want to see every individual project or idea laid out before I would have any sort of opinion on, like, even, I like the idea of even like Green Hills to Douglas Road, just as an example. I like that idea, and I'm like trying to like visualize that, and is that a feasible thing, and like, what does that look like? And I don't know, just, that's my view, as I don't really have an opinion on the topic as a whole. I would have an opinion on, like, okay, well, what do you think about, this is what we're thinking, and being able to have a dollar amount to go with it, and because those projects can add up fast. It sounds like the project out here might be way less than what we thought, which is.
So the difficult thing with Douglas to Green Hills would be Green Hills doesn't have sidewalks. So you're pouring a sidewalk into a road.
Nothing, yeah.
Or somebody's yard. So that would be the difficult thing there. I think that but as far as distance-wise and cost-wise, you're probably going to be less than this one out front because you're not going as far and you're not doing pedestrian. So
Douglas Road already has the pedestrian signs there. They have no sidewalks to use them.
as far as the other projects sidewalk-wise, I mean,
We're already over $1 million.
I think that those estimates are pretty high.
That
You know,
seems to be.
We could do the same thing that we're doing with the building. We could investigate and support it and bring information back.
well, what tonight is I was hoping I didn't want to spend a bunch of money with Manick and Smith getting a bunch of studies done if the board doesn't want to pursue sidewalks on a larger, scale. So that's why I thought, along with the ARPA committee, is okay. We're already doing this project. Here's about how much it's costing. We could, get done a lot of sidewalks. I thought if we decided, hey, let's dedicate $1 million towards sidewalks and connecting, it gives us a really good idea of where we're at, and just have Manick and Smith do a study of our township of where we could connect the most obvious, connections to do, and bring it back to the board, and then pick the ones we want to do. But at least tonight, we're moving forward with where we want to spend our money.
I think the master plan also has a lot of this information where the connectivity would happen, because that was the biggest thing in the master plan was connectivity.
And if we can avoid one more kid getting hit on the side of the road and killed, I think it'd be a huge win for this board. But
You'd like these subtotaled then?
I think, in my opinion, it's just put $1 million there. Like Mr. Steiner said, we have, monies in the general fund if we had to move a little bit here or there.
So you got $1,050,000, and then you got 218. So $1,260,000, almost 270.
So part of the thoughts is to always have monies in a fund for road projects for the community. Right now, if anybody in the community goes to pull an SAD, they're spending money on bonding fees, and that's truly roughly $40,000.
If they bond, right now we've been able to borrow from the township at a little over 4%, which isn't too bad.
So what our thoughts is to get a fund in there and keep it going for the future. That's all it's dedicated for. And it continues to pay itself back, and it continues to grow over the years. But that money, I believe, would be earmarked with the money we pay ourselves back with.
Correct.
So we could pay ourselves back probably $800,000 roughly with all the projects, and then stick that in there. What is the board's thoughts on that? Because right now, for instance, if you do, let's say, for example, the project I did in my neighborhood where we fixed some sewers, we did grinded 1.5 foot on each end of the curb, and we did a 1-inch ultra thin overlay. It was, $200,000 project. You're spending $40,000 on bonding. So, any thoughts?
If we're going to pay ourselves back, I think that's the best place to put the money so we can keep reinvesting it.
Right.
And it saves our residents who are paying for the roads, which they shouldn't have to, but that's the way it works, giving them a break also.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not against it.
Okay, Bob, where are we at
Not
money-wise?
against it either.
We've been skipping all around. I suggest we just start.
I mean, where are we at total money that we
Total-wise.
spent so far with the ones I just went over?
$1.9 million.
That's
where I
Not the right money.
That's where I struggle with $1,270,000 on all these.
So that's
sidewalks.
that number is not even, yeah, there it is, okay.
Bob, is there something else adding in this total?
Nope. Just those 3.
0.2,
7.
3. Oh,
11 coming from.
okay, there's an extra. Okay, I forgot about the maintenance building's 500 added in there. So yeah, okay, matches with. Paul, obviously, you've probably looked at steel building costs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we do anything like this, I mean, brick, stick built, we're looking at millions.
Oh yeah, we'd never be able to do that.
I mean, it would have to be something, we kind of pick colors to where they're kind of matching a little bit and do our best to pretty it up. I mean, it's a metal building. They can only get so pretty.
Well, if you're going to go, brick up a few feet anyway, I mean, that's where you try to work your match and then do the best on the rest with the steel and the roof. So if we did these right here, it leaves us about $1.3 million for everything else. If these numbers were close, which we think they're high, possibly on the sidewalks. So Bob, wasn't our number 3.2 something, like 3,268 or something like that?
Yes, as of December 31st, we have 3.3 million in cash right now.
My personal thought, I'd love to see a new skate park. We need stuff to do for, your teenage kids in these parks. They're going to tear down the one at Parmalee. There's just a huge disconnect. I don't know what this board's thoughts are on some of the other things, but, I mean, putting another skate park at Parmalee is a bad idea. There's a lot of bad activity that happens there, and I think it's in a bad spot. That should be parking lot. So the disconnect is, where do we put it? ARPA's thoughts were not putting it in a farm field off Samaria Road. And Craig, what I'm talking about, there's, right where the cemetery is on Samaria, right next to that. East of that, there's a landing strip there of property that basically butts into Onstead. I just don't know how much, it would get, I don't know, it's way off the beaten path. It's kind of like the senior center being off of Jackman and Samaria. It's off the beaten path.
I'd hate to think of people do things too. If you get the wrong people there, start messing around with the cemetery.
Yeah.
So.
Can I add just something real fast? If you guys are struggling, how about car park with the tennis courts and the pickleball? I know that was something that is already existing that just really needs a lot of TLC. Really needs to get fixed up. And it's out in the open, where a lot of traffic, where a lot of people could see it, utilize it, and maybe also keep, the teenagers. Because actually, I was at the park yesterday, and I was surprised how many actual teenagers were playing pickleball at White Park.
I have not been over there in a while. Have we Have we gotten the basketball courts resolved over there?
That's at White Park.
No, the answer is no. The problem with that is we hired, well, not we, the park board hired a random company that did a poor job. So now they're talking about putting drainage in to drain that, which is another bad idea because the dirt's going to clog it up and rocks will get in there, cutting grass will cover it up. It'll be an ongoing problem for years and years and years. So it's very frustrating, but what are you going to do? Anybody else have any thoughts?
Did that 1.9 million that we had supported, Bob, did that include if we were to reimburse ourselves?
No, that 1.9 million is just the 7 projects that we marked with a S.
You had the reimbursement.
Plug in 800,000 for reimbursement.
662,048.
Yeah,
Reimbursement.
Is that including the dump truck? Does this board want to put in the dump truck?
That was including the dump truck.
That's including the dump truck? Okay.
The way the pay ourselves back works is we'd have to put an S on one of those projects that has a Y in general fund reimbursement. Right now, we don't have any picked.
I think Trudy gave the figure of 662,048 as the reimbursement, so if we add that to that.
Well, in order to add that, we got to pick a project that has a Y in column 7.
That's what we're saying. If you go through on your on the form of all the ones that you already have the reimbursement,
The Ys?
the Ys that say
yeses?
yes, and go ahead and calculate that in with the formula that they're already wanting to support.
Sheriff vehicle? Yes, no?
That has a yes, so have that added to it.
Filter the yeses, and then you can go right down.
Yeah.
Whoever's not talking, could you mute your mics? We're getting some feedback there.
There you go.
Let me know which ones you want me to put an S on. All of them? You're now at 3.8 million.
Except for the major road project, the last one.
Say that killed that, pulled that one in.
Sorry, thank you. $2.8.
That gets us pretty close, and that gives us wiggle room. I mean, this building could come back at 800. I don't know. I mean, we need to get some hard estimates on it. But well, some of these major projects, why don't we go through and vote? That way we have it. Or do we want to vote them on them as a whole, Trudy, or do we want to go through individually?
But can we vote since this is published as a discussion only?
It's a special board meeting. So basically what we'd be doing is we'd be approving the list, we'd be moving forward, hiring the proper people, getting estimates, then bringing them back to the board, each one individually for approval. That would be the process, but this would end, the ARPA committee moving forward in that direction because we, pretty much be spending all the money.
You had 2.8 here, correct, Bob?
Yes, 2.8 million.
I mean, the only way that I could consider even voting that, like you said, it would have to be, everything has to come back with a solid estimate. Because I wouldn't want to vote for all of it and then decide, 350 grand for one of these sidewalks could be outrageous. Maybe they'll come back and tell you it's 450. So those are the biggest ones I struggle with.
Well, should we pause, Douglas?
Well, this is just to say, yes, let's stick with these projects first, but they would still have to come back to this board. We can't approve this right now. This is just.
Right, no, I'm
this is
saying the 350 though that brings off.
Well, like you just said, like it would kind of end the ARPA committee, and I was thinking that it would be like laser focusing the ARPA committee to go get, well, or is that incorrect?
No, because myself and Trudy and whoever else would probably just get estimates and move the projects forward to this board. In my opinion, we need to disband the ARPA committee. It's done its job, and it's to the point now to where it's time for the township board to move and spend the money.
Well, then if we're going to do something like that, we should have project champions listed for everything. That way we know who's going to go get estimates for what. And I think another thing that I saw in here that nobody mentioned earlier, I mean, it was Nikki brought up initially, but we had $15,000 in there for the consultant. My concern is keeping a project like this on track, making sure all the estimates are turned in, make sure they're gathered and compiled properly. Bob does a great job with the actual financials and the numbers. But somebody has to manage this project.
I'm probably going to handle them all, to be honest with you. It's not, I mean, it's everything that's right up my alley, so it's not a big deal.
And don't take this the wrong way, Paul, but I've heard everybody here, everybody's busy. They've got jobs to do in Township Hall, and I've heard every one of you guys say, I'm so busy with this, I'm so busy with that, I got too much on my plate here, too much. This is to try to help you guys out. For 15 grand, when we're losing 12 to 15 grand a month right now because we don't have the money invested in this $3.23 million, we could be earning 10 to 12 grand a month and paying for this guy.
That money's invested.
Why aren't we earning 12 to 15 grand?
So real quick, the ARPA money is in, right now we have a special rate at the bank. If I take that money out of the bank, I will lose that special rate. So
What's the rate?
right now it's 1.99. I'm looking into, I actually spoke with our financial guy last week, okay? I am looking into seeing what it will what it will get us versus how much we're going to lose if we take out all the money. Because if I take out partial of that money, that rate will go down and we won't have the special rate that we have at the bank right now.
I get it, but when you can still earn, somewhere between 4 or 5% on this kind of money. Also, I brought up a couple times that these places are FDIC at 250 grand. I mean, the bank's probably not going to go anywhere. Nothing's going to happen, but you know what? Stuff's happened. Financial institutions have gone under. If that happens, we've got 250 grand left, and they're going to say, oh, well, it's all the FDIC is going to cover you for, $250,000.
So I'm telling you, I can handle the projects and bring them back if you don't want me to, and you want to hire, personally at this point, hiring a consultant for, I don't know what you're talking about, for projects. I don't think our consultant's going to handle dealing with Manick & Smith and putting our projects out and getting our cost for them. That's still something we're going to do.
Do you remember what was in the presentation?
We did not do the presentation. I just want to interrupt real fast. The reason why we did not do the consultant is because when we first came to you guys to ask about the consultant, there was a lot of guidelines that ARPA money was supposed to be used for, and we wanted to make sure that money was being used properly.
Right.
They changed that, and so it opened up a window of opportunity for us where we didn't think we did not need a consultant to be able to tell us what we can and cannot use that money for. We could figure that out ourselves. We didn't need to pay $15,000 to have someone tell us yes or no when we could do it ourselves, because that window of opportunity honestly, was pretty clear compared to what it used to be in the very, very beginning.
Well, we all know about the restrictions have been lifted. A lot of it's changed. But my question go back to Bob had the initial proposal. Wasn't the initial proposal in there with information that they would also act somewhat as a project manager for us?
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think we need them for that, to be honest with you. I mean, we act as our own projects managers a lot. I mean, I just did the sidewalk out here. It's moving forward just fine. I get the easements. I take the easements. I've gone to people's doors to get, it's not hard. Okay. I look for a motion. I'll make a motion. We approve the projects that we have submitted and supported in the amount of, what's the total amount there, Bob? Can you scroll up?
I wouldn't put an amount.
No dollar amount?
Okay. I'll just continue, make the motion as I said, without an amount.
I'll second with amendment to add, like, I don't know how exactly you had worded it, but just that the supervisor will move forward on these projects, because all of them need to come back to us anyway. I don't know if that was already kind of in the verbiage, but.
No, but I'll support your friendly amendment.
I'll just make a comment. I think it's crazy to try to put everything in one person's court. One person's not going to handle this whole thing. I support a lot of this stuff, but if we're going to have one person trying to control this, it's a lot of work, a lot of follow-up. I'll vote no.
Okay, what's your thoughts then? Who do you want to hire the consultant to help me?
That was my suggestion prior. That's been that way for a long time.
I mean, personally, I think it'll really slow things down, but I don't know. I've never dealt with him. I've never talked to him.
Here's another thing. You talk to the consultant. I'd say, Bob, is it an automatic 15 right off the bat, or is it? I didn't think so. I thought it was in draws, right?
Yep. The first thing they'd like to do is just have a meeting. They charge $500, just say, this is what we can do for you. They'll spell it out, and then you pay as you go.
So that's the other thing too, is even if we got this guy or lady, whoever, to a certain point, and we say, you know what, you've really been a big help, you fulfilled it, we spent $5-6 grand, and
Yeah, but you're going to have to depend on me to make that call with him because I'll be working with him.
right.
I mean, if it makes you feel more comfortable, I'm fine with that. But these aren't.
Yeah, what on this list would not be, like, if
These
you're
aren't
doing
big
this a
deals.
different way, wouldn't be the responsibility of the supervisor. I think any one of these, if we were doing them, that would be the supervisor's responsibility.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's me calling Manick and Smith and telling them, hey, this is what we're wanting to do with sidewalks. Get moving on it. Go to work. The building, I'm going to have to call a couple professionals in that industry. I'm going to have to work with Pat Thatcher on his needs, square footage needed, and probably get with Trudy on her needs for all of her election equipment. Get with an architect, like a local architect, and get some plans drawn up of what we want, and then get some estimates.
So, like, if you didn't feel comfortable,
I mean, it's
with it,
not a big deal. I'm not personally doing it. I'm not drawing it up. I'm not making it. It's all professional people handling it.
Yeah, if it was whoever it was going to be didn't feel comfortable taking on the workload, then I don't think I would be opposed to that. But if the person that's taking on the workload doesn't feel the need, it seems like an added expense to me.
Like I said, I don't think we do, but if Mr. Steiner feels comfortable with that, I want every board member to feel comfortable spending that kind of money. I mean, I don't, in the big scheme of it, it's $15,000 or whatever, it's $10,000. It's, like I said, it's up to the board. What's your thoughts, Trudy, Krista? What do you guys want to do? You want to get a consultant involved, or do you want to leave it as is?
don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I don't know.
All I know is in the beginning, the ARPA committee said, no, we didn't want to pay $500 for someone to come in and say, well, I can do this or I can do that. And that's what he's going to come in and do the first time. Some of these numbers we already have, they're in white. It would be just getting the information and bringing it back to this board. I would be comfortable getting the information, bringing it back to the board, and at that point, if we think we need to hire an engineer to oversee everything, we do it then. Just my opinion.
Todd, what's your thoughts?
I can go either way.
All right. You want to amend it, or are you good with it as?
Fine as it is.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, let's call the roll.
Mr. Perrone.
Aye.
Mr. Montroy.
Aye.
Ms. Janasek.
Aye.
Mr. Bruning.
Aye.
Mr. Steiner.
I support a majority of the things on the list, but I'm voting no.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Okay, the motion passed 5-1. Okay. Next public comment.
All this is going to have to come back to the Board of Rebuilding.
It'll all come back.
This just gets us.
Okay, 1056 West Temperance. First off, I'm very disappointed that we didn't even get 5 minutes. The public needs to know that at the August 3rd of 2021, the minutes reflected that the meetings for the ARPA committee were, some of them were going to be at night, and that they would definitely be seeking the public input. That's not true. It's not happened. I've been at the meetings. Public people have suggested, and I was one that suggested, one who was told right outright that because it was my suggestion, but for Mr. Perrone, that they would not even consider it. Move on, move on. Mr. Steiner, he's basically run the meetings as it is. Nicole would open them, but most of the talk was from Mr. Perrone. It's disappointing to see the ARPA committee making demands on the parks when their ideas bear more merit than what the elected board did. And who did the price study for the fire department projects versus the demands that were put onto the parks? Page 2, I did read the first time Vicki talked, did not give the supported projects there. I'm concerned with how the payback for the budget items will be misused by going back to the general fund. So at least tonight, Trudy did speak to what they would like to use those for. As far as the sidewalks, I thought Bob had included in a FOIA that I asked for that we cannot do projects that require an encumbrance. So I'm assuming that Mr. Perrone is going to go out and shovel all of these sidewalks, or any one of you here on the board will be out there shoveling the sidewalks. It is a real problem, and people don't shovel them. So that is a concern, and sidewalks to the DDA, what for? The people, as far as the parks go, there are issues with the kids, and we need to understand that the master plan is flexible. It's a changing document, and if it can happen for public use.
Thank you for your. Thank you for your comments. Oh, wasn't working. You could pull it up if you want. No.
Josh Nearport, 7940 Wiseman Road, Lambertville. Like what I'm seeing so far, a lot of these projects get approved. Different entities are getting their hand in what they need. It's not just like all one or two entities getting money, but everybody's getting represented and getting something on their wish list. With the parks, the sidewalks are a good idea, honestly. Especially some of the neighborhoods, some of the road as was mentioned. It's a busy road. People just speed through that 35-mile-an-hour zone as well. And the schools, good idea as well. I think it'd be safe to say that start with the schools first, and then maybe do a study on the rest of the township and see what else can be done with that as well.
Appreciate your comments. Any more comments? Appreciate your comments. Any more comments?
Al Pryor, 1160 North Park. I've done a lot of work on connectivity to trails and everything. Really excited about these sidewalks because what you need to understand, you're not just going from Douglas Road to Green Hills, you're going from Douglas Road all the way to the, because you go through Green Hills, you go through Hidden Valley, there'll be a sidewalk when you make a left-hand turn out of Hidden Valley, you can walk all to all those services. If you're a senior, a kid, ride your bike, you can get to the bank, you can get to a doctor, you can get to a restaurant. Okay? We have corridors that we can have connectivity. And all those who lived here for over 40 years, no, we really haven't had connectivity. And this sidewalk out here, you're going to connect, okay? Just think about it, all the way from Lewis Avenue, Burns Road, coming down, going to the library, junior high, over to Indian Creek, walk over from Indian Creek, and go on over to White Park. I can go to the YMCA. Okay, I could get, I'm almost a forest view if I want to. That connectivity is vital for, also too, for economic development. Those are things you can have. So I'm really excited that we're considering these sidewalks because it's something that is really needed. And to get to the DK, which is the main corridor, is really important. And we have a lot of school kids, we have a lot of seniors. People need to get out and start to walk. That would also make.
Thank you for your comments. Any more comments? Only have one left. Okay. Comments from board members? Or any other member want to make another comment? Okay, Mr. Steiner? Nothing. Mr. Mantra?
Nothing other than just appreciate all the time and effort ARPA committee has put into compiling all of this and getting it to this point. Appreciate it.
Ms. Bruni?
Nothing more to add to this, but just on another aspect, wrestling team this weekend, also the Bedford basketball team, both boys and girls are doing phenomenal. And it's never mentioned, but we have the play on February 24th, 25th, and 26th, the Susicle. It's up in Monroe at River Raisin because the auditorium at Bedford's having the roof replaced, but support those guys also. Other than that, everyone have a good night.
Okay, Ms. Janet?
Responding to the question from the public, yes, the money is going to be invested to get a higher rate, to get more interest on not only ARPA funds, but also other funds that we have in the township. Yes, it has taken some time, but as I've stated in the past, and I know Mr. Steiner had said it earlier, we are very busy. And in my department, in the last month and a half has been tax deadline, and taxes have been out. I did speak with my financial guy yesterday. No. Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah. Friday, I'm sorry. I spoke with him on Friday, and we are in the process of doing investments. What that dollar amount is, I can't give you that right now because I don't have that exact amount. But I am still working on trying to contact the other bank to find out what will happen to the rate if I do take out some of that other money, how much it will be affected. And depending on what that effect is and what the loss is, will determine whether or not I move and how much money I move from the ARPA funds to the investments.
Is that like a fee or something for pulling it out early?
No, it's based on the amount that you have in the account. Mm-hmm. And if I take out below that amount, I will lose that rate. And it will go to an even smaller rate. So that's why I need to figure out what we're using. Because I can't take it all out, because then it'll close the account out. And I can't do that because we still need that account to be able to transfer the funds to be able to pay out on the projects that we're doing.
Too, yeah, you have to be careful locking it up too. I mean,
right.
we're moving forward on the projects.
So, and that's all I have.
All right. Ms. Hirschberger?
I just want to thank the ARPA committee. All your time and effort all the good conversation that we spent trying to get through all these projects. There were a lot of projects that were thrown at us, and if it wasn't for the input that you gave, I don't think we'd be this close to being completed. So thank everyone for that. That's all.
Not sure what Ms. Keene's talking about again. I never recall or say ever to a resident that, oh, because you said it, we're not going to do it. That's not me. And I like to take everybody's opinion seriously and work with it. So not sure what she's talking about there. But I, too, want to thank this board. The majority of the funds that we're spending are benefiting the community, and that was the goal. With this money, we listened to the community. We worked off the master plan. We talked to every agency and organization, and in the end, I think with what we're doing, funding SAD projects is huge, and connectivity, like Mr. Pryor said, is huge. People come to communities that have great connectivity, especially people that don't have the means to catch a bus or whatever. You know, they can have the option to walk and bike. So I think everything we're doing is great. I think we're fixing a past issue of getting out of the building that we're in, and putting something here where it needs to be. So I appreciate the ARPA committee, like I said, all your hard work, and appreciate the community's input. And if nobody else has any comments, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.